Welcome everybody. Today is May 17, 2022. This is the Hannah City Village Council meeting. Time is 6 p.m. If everybody would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Jeff, you are up first.
These two guys real quick. So, I started filling out all the application material for everything I need. And I want to talk to you guys about that because half of the questions on there, the answers don't exist yet. The corporation name, stuff like that, stuff won't be followed through with until I get a yay or nay from what we do guys. So this here is just a spreadsheet for you guys to look at and kind of run through the ideas I got so far. Everybody got one, right? What I'm planning on, just kind of wanted you guys to read this, get an idea in your heads, try to visualize it for me. I have not been able to get inside the building yet to get more detailed layouts for you.
So you're planning on leasing both the front far left?
I would say it is at this point a 50-50 on leasing or buying the entire building. If it goes through this evening, our decision is primarily we want to buy the entire building and then lease inside the building as well. But that discussion has yet to be had barring tonight.
So where is this building?
This is Ron Goley's building with walkers.
Right next to the bank.
It's the gray one.
Sister ATM.
Thank you.
It's got like 3 addresses.
Because one who
So-
owns it, I don't know.
Yes.
Okay.
Batman shirt. It's hard to
Gotcha. I
Yeah.
know who he is. I just didn't know where it was. Okay.
It's hard to explain. It's got the apartments have a different address than the main part of it. So Carroll and Farmington Road, and then I think Lake or Lakeshore. Yeah.
They're completely separate property even.
Yeah. So, but he owns all of that, and he is willing to sell to us, and verbally stated he would be willing to lease to us.
But in terms of the layout, when you're talking here about the two front facing units,
Yeah, so the layout, when you're driving, if you're coming from this direction, the lakeshore side of the building has 2 units, or 2 doors, I should say. There's really one little one, and then that one is currently rented. There's somebody remodeling it as we speak. You come around the corner, there's another door, and then there's another door. Those are technically 2 units, but they are still connected. You can get to them from the inside. So our plan is to use both. One of them is a lot larger than the other. So depending on how it works with electrical and everything, the plan, as you'll see on there, is to have the gaming machines in that separate room, but just with a wide access opening that comes into the restaurant, and then our bar area up in the back of the building. That is the layout plan in my mind.
and you'd be able to enter the gaming independently as well
No.
from the outside?
No. Any doors that would allow that will be locked or blocked off in some way.
Okay.
You do have to have somebody that is 21 available at all times, watching the only access in and out of the gaming area.
Any questions from the board?
So a lot of your business plan depends on what happens tonight. But let's say we vote in favor of the license. Sort of timeline are you looking at? I'm just interested because I'm literally right street.
Oh.
It's awesome.
The timeline will be, I'll tell you this, and in my experience of opening up a fresh business from start, the corporation will take me a week to get done. At that point, I'll turn all the proper paperwork into you guys once I have an official corporation listed, and then you can do all the background checks you need to do, all that stuff. And once that all goes through, I'll continue on, and construction will start as soon as we can get anybody on the job. I mean, immediately. There's nothing holding us back. We've spoke to the banks. My uncle, call him the money man in this. He's got a lot of real estate already, so the bank has no issue with this. We don't see that being a problem. But as soon as, you know how work is right now, but as soon as we can get people in there to remodel, I mean, that's the only thing that's going to hold us back. It'll take at least 3 months typically after applying for gaming machines with the state for them to even come in. So that you're looking at least 3 months away, possibly 4, 5, 6, depending on the stage of construction. I'd say I would like to be up and running, not to put too much pressure on myself, late fall, early winter, hopefully sooner, but I'm trying to be with getting people to actually come do the work might be a little longer. That being said, with the gaming machines, because I know, you guys all have your separate feelings about them. I'm fine with what Ron's decision is, not having street side advertisement, so it's not flashy in the face when you drive through town. That's not a problem. But I have to have my father and I have to have my uncle invested in this to be able to buy the building, open the building, get the capital that I need to do this. And every which way I've ran it without gaming machines, it's not even plausible to make it. There's not many restaurants or bars around anymore that don't have them or aren't trying to get them, at least somewhere. Even the warehouse snuckers in. I mean, it is a very helpful boost. It helps pay the bills, and especially when you have partners, it makes a huge difference.
And how many were you going for?
6. We should have plenty of space in that separate room.
It's bigger than it looks. I've actually been in there. There's a t-shirt company in there now, and the front part is probably big enough to hold 6 machines, but if you go back, there's a bathroom there, and then there's like a whole room where they were actually manufacturing or building the t-shirts back in there. So
it's all, the preliminary drawings in my head compared to where the kitchen's actually going to be able to go and where everything's going to actually be able to be installed. That's what could change things a little bit, but I don't see us not being able to use that room and keeping them separate from the restaurant.
will the smoking create any issues for the neighborhood? I mean, will there be, obviously you want them to smell it.
It'll just make you come. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Like Gills is right now?
No, I don't believe so. I don't. And they have systems you can do inside as well.
I was gonna say, you're gonna try to smoke inside or just go outside somewhere?
Yeah, I'm gonna try.
Yeah.
That's my plan, is to get the right equipment, the right exhaust, to do it all inside, collect it all the right way, and make it work that way. Because once you start getting outside with smokers, you get into problems with hand washing stations, opening and shutting doors, in and out with raw meat, all that kind of stuff. The food department is not like, and like you see on here, I don't plan on having fryers. We do a lot of fryer food at Bellevue, and it is a mess. It's a grease trap. It's a separate bin to pick up all the grease. It is a lot of work. It's super expensive. Oil is right now, and I don't plan on using them at all. Between pressure cookers and air fryers and a flat top and a couple of smokers, I think I can get the job done.
And with the hood and everything, you'll be venting out the roof anyway, or venting somewhere, so.
Correct.
You say the entire building, there's that karate class or something in there right now. Would that be part of it? Like,
No, so if you stand in front of the building, the far right is that auto place where they sell used auto parts. And then just to the left of that is the karate
And they have
place.
2 units basically
And
in
then-
the karate place.
And then just to the left of that is this space. And it's almost as big as the karate space. The main,
I guess I could show you guys this picture as I walk around. This is the front face of the building. After you turn the corner, these are the first 2 units.
Yeah.
Walker, and that is down there. If you guys, obviously, most of you have passed it enough times to get the right idea. Anybody
I
else
think it
wanna
used to be
see
a
that?
grocery store.
the front too.
Well, there was a little deli slash
Oh, True Value.
grocery. Oh, this was just
Facing.
probably
Correct.
not even
Five or
10 years ago that Bella.
Currently, it's only 2 units open.
Deli.
In the entire
yeah, that sounds right. Because the dog grooming place is on the
Pam's place
side.
was in there. She had her office. Pam had her office in
Are you buying the apartments too, or do you?
Yes.
You'd like
It'll be the whole thing. That's what was funny actually, because I've been selling insurance for probably almost 6 years now. And right after our meeting, the very next day, I got a text from a guy that used to work for me. He asked for renter's insurance. And the address was that exact apartment. It was just the odds of it were pretty crazy. So I already have renter's insurance up there. Anything else? You guys are anything confusing on the page or?
What improvements are you looking to do to the building? It says on their building info, the last bullet item.
Yeah, it just doesn't have a whole lot of curb appeal when I drive by.
Solid work.
Yeah, you can only do so much with a
Yeah.
brick building, but
Yeah.
I think in time we plan to paint it. You know, I always, all my restaurants and bars have landscaping. You know, I'd like to add some plants and just, you know, it's amazing what tulips can do to the front of a building. And a little bit of paint, but
Gotcha. Freshen up the front of it mainly then.
yes,
Yeah.
and you know that changes with whether or not he lets us buy the entire thing, but
Yeah.
he has gotten to the point now where I think that his primary goal is to sell the whole thing to us.
Mentioned using Hannah City in the title. Is that something that we would have to be approve or anything? Or they can
No.
just do whatever they want, right?
Whatever they want.
I just wanted to, you know, throw it by you guys, make sure it was okay. Like I said in there, I'm thinking Hannah City Grill and Bar, to be honest with you. It's just plain, it's simple, you know what it is and where it is.
We'll give you a theme: Bellevue Tap, Hannah City Grill Bar.
Bellevue, yes. And Marshall's has been in Bartonville so long, it's basically Bartonville Bar. So yeah,
Never been in there.
never seen you there.
He's normally under the table.
How would I word
No,
this
we're not.
motion? I make a motion, we approve the liquor and gaming license application from Jeff. I'm not even gonna try.
We can't fill it out yet.
Yeah, it's contingent on my paperwork.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that okay? We can do it on contingency of.
You have sole discretion in issuing liquor licenses. So I think it's just been a formality of the village, past practice to get the board's input, but ultimately this is your call.
I still have to get the state one too, so
Right.
they will still have to approve me of that.
Yeah. But you have to have ours in hand before you can even apply to the state?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
I thought there's an open one now. It's in the city tab.
But do we have to do anything with the gaming terminals? How many we have?
No.
No? Okay.
No, just the liquor, but we've already got.
But we already have that.
Yeah. And then we can regulate our own cost on the gaming permits or the gaming machines.
Yeah.
Up to
$250.
$250 now.
Per machine, yeah.
Have you seen an increase at your other locations? The other
State approved, you can charge more for the gaming machines per location.
You mean increase the cost? It costs me to
From a
have
local
them.
municipality license.
Yeah, not yet.
They haven't done
I
it.
see it
They
coming.
increased they can go up to $250 a machine.
I think it was very confusing to a lot of people on what they were talking about, and they changed that. Yeah, because they're also talking about taking the max bid up to $5 a spin. So I think it got really confusing. People also thought the state was just taking more, which probably will happen. But yeah, so I have not seen it yet.
Ours is still $25 a machine. We haven't made any adjustments at this point.
I believe that's what it is in Bellevue.
So I have a motion by side act to approve once proper paperwork is filled out. Do I have a second? Second by Weaver. Since we're not spending any money, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Can show me
Okay.
that too.
So you can work with me and these guys to get it notarized once you get everything together.
Okay.
And then we'll go from there.
I plan to have the corporation done early next week, probably. then I'll appropriate your name. Once I decide on the name, I go up on the building there, and I'll be back.
Danny online will be happy. He's gonna have some barbecue.
You guys spoke and I listened.
I think it'll do well, honestly. I think
Yeah,
so.
I think it'll do
I'm excited about
real well. I'm very excited about it because there's one thing that I miss, and that is barbecue.
it. So now you're stuck with that.
There you go. It'll be on the menu. We currently have smoked pulled pork at Bellevue, and I smoked the wings for a long time too. So, and those, as soon as I get them, it's about 2 days and they're all gone. So, you might go tonight, you might not get it. So, don't get too excited for it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Danny Pearson, did you have anything, or are you just here to observe, sir?
Just observing, and I am happy about the barbecue.
Thank you, Danny.
Jeff, as always, you can stay as long as you want. You feel you're not gonna hurt anybody's feelings. Either way. Thank you.
Everybody should have gotten a copy of the previous May 3rd minutes in their packet. Any adjustments or corrections that need to be made?
Make a motion to accept the minutes as submitted.
Motion by Johnson, second by Sidak. Jeff beat you out, right? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carried. So down to the treasurer's report.
Only thing of note on this is on the payroll portion, the very last page is the payroll that I did for this week. Well, it's for last week. I did it today. There's one line on Rogers and one line on Jim's that say back pay. And that's because I forgot to put I didn't forget. Their raises didn't get put in last week. So this is 40 hours at 72 cents for Roger and I think 82 cents for Jim. So that's the only thing of real mention on this. That's why it says it. Because of my error, not theirs.
I'll blame it on that.
Oh well. I put in the raise and then I failed to hit save until when I moved on to the next profile. So that was my fault.
Bobcat.
Make a motion to accept the treasurer's report payroll. Same goes.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Pearson. Any further discussion? Comments? Roll call it. Weaver?
Yes.
Pearson?
Yes.
Sidak?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Motion carried. Mr. Lott, Brandon, you're up, sir.
I have nothing to report this evening. I just wanted to make myself available to see if there are any questions or anything needed of me.
Okay. That was quick and easy. Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you.
Michael?
This might be the first time I have nothing to report either. I don't think there's anything going on.
This is the skinniest agenda we've had all year.
Really liking these 6 o'clock.
It gives us less time to think and prepare, so.
It's okay if I share it with the board. Okay. Yeah. This will probably be Michael's last meeting with us as he is going to help his family out, which is very admirable. Michael, I wish you well. And, if you need anything or Bill needs anything, please have him reach out to us and let us know. And we wish you the best of luck and hope your family does good.
I appreciate that. It's been an absolute honor and privilege being a part of this village for the last 2 years, working with you guys, getting to know everybody. And I think there's a lot that you guys do that nobody really recognizes. And I think it's important that people show up to these meetings and start to realize that you guys do a lot for this village.
Thank you.
Do you know Michael's a permanent or are you still?
I'm still not sure.
Still not sure.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't have
hopefully
a
we'll get you
timeline.
back.
I'd like to.
Well, thanks. It's been good having you here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know who He corrects my stuff all the time.
Well, good. Somebody should.
Temporarily, is the bill going to be online or is it going to be?
It'll be Bill or the new attorney we just hired. He's training right now. I think he's in another municipality for one of their meetings tonight. So Bill's bringing him up to speed.
Got it.
Yeah, so I did have a meeting with Bill prior to last meeting, and Bill talked to me about the situation that Michael had with the family. So Bill was just wanting to make sure that we were okay with that, and I said, yeah, by all means, Bill.
What were you going to do if you said no? I mean,
Well, we could have gone to another firm, but
well, I guess that's true.
Bill's always been upfront and honest with us, and always helped us out when we needed it. So yeah, I said, bring the new guy in, just like they brought Michael in. We'll beat him up a little bit, and then I'll get him molded. So
Bill's character.
yes, it does.
Plus, Bill's a Duke fan, so we got to keep it.
Oh yeah.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I lost respect for
It's
you.
funny, he and I are texting during Duke games. He's like, you're going crazy. Yeah, it's fun.
I like to wear his Duke hoodie around the office sometimes.
Me too.
Yep.
Administrator's report.
All right, so all I've got is this is the April 2021-22. So this is fiscal year end, month 12 report. So if you look at the first slide, April core funds, you can see we had income of 112,814 and expenses of 139,950. So we're showing negative 18,136, but we're actually, there's a couple things I'll explain, anomalies that aren't in there yet, or one correction that needs to be made, but we're actually going to be about 11,000 to the good for the month. If you go to the next slide, I can explain some of that. In general, part of what's causing the income to be higher, a little bit higher than normal, is we did get the money from Farmington for the trail expenses, about 14,000 and some change there. But we also had $4,000 of MFT engineering expenses that got put into general and not into MFT. So that'll be corrected next month. So there's $4,000 correction on the expense side coming out of general and moving to MFT. The big dollar amount that we do not have in yet is $25,000 that's coming from Peoria County for the trail. I've got agreement on via email that they're going to pay it, but I haven't. I did send a follow-up note Monday, but I haven't heard for sure when that's coming. So if you put the $25,000 in there plus take the $4,000 expense out, that's 29 on top of the 18. So we would have actually been $11,000 to the good, assuming that timing was right. The sewer expenses were a little bit higher. That was predominantly due to two things. One was the sewer cleanup issue that we had to clean up the one home. And then we also had $4,000 of expenses in there for the lift station, but we had previously ARPA income to cover that. So we've been high on the income side carrying it, but some of that expense came in the last month. So all in all, not a bad month. MFT, April MFT, there's really nothing to report, income, no expenses. April TIF, we just had the Jacob and Klein expenses. I think those come in quarterly, is that right? So as the end of the quarter for Jacob and Klein were the only expenses we had there. BDD for the month, we had the 26,521 that went to the Park District. So our income for the BDD was a little bit lower than what we've done. I think we've done $10,000, $11,000, $12,000. So I'm not sure why it was lower, but the expenses, the Park District. And then if you look at the year-to-date core funds, we're at 195,778. You add that $29,000 back in, we're closer to 225,000 to the good for the year. And I'll explain a little bit more on that later. If you look at then the year-to-date numbers, those should all kind of balance out in total anyway. So year-to-date total, like I said, we were 195,778 to the good. If you look at the core funds, general was good, unemployment was good. Water was our only negative, although it wasn't as negative as I thought, but I do think we're still carrying some ARPA money in there that we haven't spent in terms of the water meter installation, some costs associated with that. So I was thinking that was going to be a little bit higher of a loss, but we took the price increase, so that should help that. Sewer was positive, garbage was just a little bit positive, and sanitation was positive. So I think we're setting ourselves up good for next year. Year-to-date MFT, we ended up subsidizing the program by about $12,000. Again, that was a little less than I thought we were going to need to subsidize it from our savings. And that was due to just some good work to reduce costs in some certain areas. So that was good. Year-to-date TIF, this is going to take time. We're losing money on the TIF side. We do have some projects, as you know, that could land in the next year that might help that. To this point, for as far as cash flow, we've been borrowing the money from BDD and keeping record of that, and then we'd have a decision later as to whether or not we wanted to pay BDD back or not on the TIF side. The biggest issue we have on TIF is we give back 80% of the residential increases back to the other taxing districts. So it's got to be new stuff. And if you look at, some of the, like we've got to deal with coffee can, we're not getting direct TIF dollars back because that's going to subsidize that moving forward. So eventually we'll be getting those dollars, but we're not getting them yet, if that makes sense. Year-to-date BDD. So the biggest expense we had there was we had two big ones. We did the parking lot, half parking lot for the coffee can, and then leased it out. And then we did the work for the park district. You go to cash. So year over year. So this is where the rubber hits the road. We ended the year of 2021 fiscal year with $1,316,259 in cash, and we ended this year $1,568,605, so $252,000 more in cash. And then you can see the breakdown of what's liquid and earmarked. So again, cash flow positive. On the next slide, I do want to show you we've changed the whole accounting structure around and the accounts around. So the top half, you can see the new checking accounts. We basically have 3 checking accounts now. One, which is called, our basic or operating checking account, but it includes the MFT, TIF, and BDD money. So all we're going to do is separate those dollars out in Locus, but there's just one checking account to write those checks out of, rather than reconciling 4 accounts like we used to do. There'll just be one account and we'll reconcile it that way. We have to have the IEPO money separate, and you have to have the water escrow money separate. So we now have 3 checking accounts where before, I can't remember, we probably had 14. More. Significant number of more. So there's some efficiency there. Then on the savings side, we basically went to one savings account, and we'll track the dollars differently internally. So we'll have a buildings and grounds, a trail, a streets, we'll have a water tower, a water capital, we'll have a sewer capital, and we'll have a sanitation. And what you see in the 2021 to 22 year-end column is those should be the cash dollar amounts as of the end of April in each of those accounts. And so then what I'll be doing is I've got a spreadsheet set up where each month I'll show you for each of those accounts, did it go up or down? And is it over month, higher or lower, year over year, higher or lower for each of those areas? And then the dollars that you see in the parentheses are what was in the budget and the appropriations ordinance that we set aside each month. So from our general, we take $2,500 out a month for IEPA, $2,000 for buildings and grounds, $5,000 for streets, $1,000 for the tower, $2,500 for water capital. Are you laughing at me?
No.
$1,000 for sewer capital. Make sense?
What do we have left on our APA?
The last I looked, it was 300-ish.
I'd have to look. I don't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I can look and get back to you though.
It may not be that high. We may be in the 200 range now. At one point, I thought with what we had in the IAPA and what we had in the trail would have come pretty close to paying it off. So that would be 240-ish. I don't know if it paid it off completely, and I'm not saying that that's what we should do. It's just one scenario we were looking at. Problem with that would be is then the thought was is you take out a new loan, but interest rates have gone up fairly significantly. So taking out a new loan might not be the wisest thing to do for more sewer work. Does that all make sense? I mean, we went from
We'd have to take out a new loan. We had to do more sewer work.
potentially, or we could vote to take money from other places. I mean, that might not be a good option either.
Depending on the amount of work you do, when you use up 200 some thousand to pay cash for the new work and just keep paying the interest on the other one, you'll be money ahead.
We'd have to look at all that, but we are working on, as we talked about last time, on a little longer term planning for water and sewer as well to kind of bring that in line. But a lot of work here to really consolidate the total number of accounts, have it all built differently in Locust to simplify and make us more efficient. Have to, reconcile far fewer bank accounts. Doesn't mean we don't have to reconcile the accounts within the account, but you only have to look at one total and match it up. So we should see some efficiencies there. And I'm looking forward to the way we're going to report it out each month. I think it'll be a little easier to understand where we are. So summary-wise, April core fund showed $18,000, but we're actually $11,000 to $25K reimbursement for Peoria County, which we're waiting on, and moving the $4,000 of expenses. The core funds was the same for the same reasons. MFT was better than expected. TIF's going to take some time. BDD, we had strong performance, much stronger than what we anticipated. And then cash flow positive for the year, so lots of good things there. And then for the year-end summary, I wanted to include this. Our income and expense, we were $225 positive if you count those two items that I spoke about. We put $150,000 into capital, which meant we had roughly the $75,000 we talked about left over. We spent $55 on the skid steer loader. We spent just under $5 on the tiller. So that's $60, and then we spent $7 on the IT projects, so $67, something like that. So we still had a little bit of cash left over after that.
Any questions, comments?
Yeah, sorry.
Brian. Committee reports, finance, Mr. Johnson.
End of report. Just have
Police and planning, Mr. Johnson.
from 5/1 to 5/14, there was 43 incident reports. End of report.
43?
Yep.
Sanitary and sewer, Mr. Pearson.
I have nothing to report.
We're on a roll.
Water.
Again, I have nothing to report.
Yes.
Buildings grounds, Mr. Reed.
Jack it up, Ron.
I will just say one thing. The guys, maybe you noticed, they painted the rails out front today.
Yeah, I
They look
smelled
nice.
it too.
And then they helped some mowing at the park district too.
Oh, yeah.
So thank you to those guys to help them out. I know they don't have the time to do it all the time, so we'll definitely make sure that we keep on top of the park board. In fact, one of the ladies is in my workout class. Park board, so I'll ask. You had nothing? Okay. Economic development, Mr. Siner?
The library finally got back to me today, actually, a couple hours ago. They said they were hesitant to send a representative when they don't know when we were meeting. So I think I'm going to go ahead and let them know it'll be quarterly, so we can sort of narrow in a little time there. So sounds like I've got all the taxing bodies nailed down. Just waiting on those at-large members to get a specific date.
Have you got any at large?
Has said it
We need how many? Two?
to be appointed by the
Maybe
mayor
post it on
and confirmed.
the Hannah City Facebook page to let them know that we're looking for unpaid
Unpaid.
volunteers.
It's very awesome from the library.
You say unpaid, people are like, yeah. You say volunteer, they're like, oh, hey, volunteer.
We can do that.
Okay.
Volunteer person. There's some days that are loose, you guys.
The only other thing I would add to the economic development stuff is you probably saw the note I forwarded out today that we've officially been notified that the grant has ended. I have been in contact with UP about two items. One is they've been doing some work with Bellevue to put up, what do they call those big concrete
Bunker blocks.
bunker blocks or whatever.
K-rails.
To block some stuff. I don't know whether we need those or not anywhere, but I think they're willing to help us with that if we decide that's something that we want to do. And then the other thing is just to make sure that I've got a different contact I have to call, but make sure they're aware that, and we're on record that if they do, my understanding is that by the 29th of May, if UP has to get an extension from the Surface Transportation Board to keep it rail banked, or it ends and then it goes into an abandonment state where then they would be in a position where they could sell off chunks of it. And I just want to be on record with them, assuming you guys agree that Hannah City would be interested in 3 to 5 miles of the trail, Taylor Roadish,
Something for sure.
Taylor Roadish to Eden, or some subset of that.
Peak in to start and go from there.
Or just what's in town even. I mean, something, yeah.
I mean, I don't think we would go beyond Taylor Road to Eden, do you? That's
No.
4.5, I think, somewhere in there, not a little under 5 miles.
Taylor'd be a long ways.
Taylor to Pekin would make sense. That's about 3 miles. But anyway, I just want to be on record with them, so if something comes up, they'll know that you might be interested. It's clear to me after that Fred had a meeting last night to see if there was any public interest and public money interested in funding the trail and buying all 25 miles of it. I would say the meeting, they spent a lot of time talking about kind of the past history of, well, how come this was decided this way, and what does this mean, and that being kind of clarifying everything we've been through up to this point. I would say that I didn't see that there was there was some support, I would say, to help financially, but I don't know if there's enough for them to do anything independently.
Yeah, it would take a pretty heavy hitter to have shown up to that meeting last night, so.
Yeah.
Were you at the meeting?
I called in. Yeah, I was on Zoom. Mm-hmm.
Was there a lot of people there? Or
I don't, it was hard to tell. There was probably 5 or 6 people that spoke up in the room, and then another 3 or 4 online that spoke up. But there was, Bellevue has no interest. He basically said, we have no interest in owning the trail. Peoria County said, we have no interest in owning it or having any liability, but if there was a third party that owned it and took on the liability, we would maybe be interested in finding ways to support it. I think all of that kind of reinforced that we made, a good decision from a liability and cost standpoint. But I'd like to see if we can eventually get people more focused on the subset side of things. But I guess we can't do that unless it's no longer rail banked anyway. So we'll have to track that and see what happens. But that's what's going on.
We don't have to worry about a DNR grant either.
Yeah.
Since I read the email, but we can't apply for 2 more years to a grant because of that. And then the DNR also threw in a nice little parting shot, but
What did it say?
unfortunately, because of in their official letter to us that
Because you wasted our money.
yeah, basically because you wasted our time applying for this grant and your project wasn't feasible. Other worthy projects were turned down. They're pretty much their wording right in their letter. It took a lot of willpower to understand. What the group that was working with this rails to trails was being told was completely different than what we got told at the 11th hour. It wouldn't have made a difference because we didn't have the support in hand, but they never would have went down the path with that grant if they would have known what was told the last week of or the last 2 weeks of. They never would have tried for that grant.
If the ADA compliance issue had been out from the beginning, if the appraised value versus the discounted appraised value had been known from the very beginning,
That might have been surmountable, maybe. If
you could have raised more money if you had the time.
Yeah, the ADA would have. Week 1, they would have stopped and pursued another option for it, and what was the other thing that was on there? Oh, the 100% development, 3 years. When they thought that they could just segment and pick and choose as they wanted to over the years, that would have killed it right away too, because they knew there was going to be no development money there initially. It was just get it and wait. That grant was pretty much the opposite of what they were told.
I think at this point, I think it made the best thing for Hannah City. You all can agree or disagree would be as if we could get a subset of it.
Mm-hmm.
And still get connected to Taylor Road, because that does give us access to the people that come out, the bikers that come out from Peoria County.
Yeah, because that would get them down off of 116, which there are a lot of riders that ride on 116, but then it would give them some access, something different.
Well, Tri-County's actually, they commissioned a study, right, to figure out how to go from Wildlife Prairie Park and that biking place down Taylor Road.
They wanted to connect it to the Constitution Trail, but Rock Island Trail, I thought. So I don't know if they were trying to connect it through Peoria to the bridges.
I know. Brandon, you're back on. There was something you wanted to say?
We were intending to do that work, and we were told it was on hold until your trail was formalized. So we haven't heard anything to see if that's going to move forward or not.
We decided not to do it.
I heard a rumor.
Brandon, don't you think if we had Taylor Road to Pekin Lane, let's say, that's 3 miles. I would think there would be interest in connecting that to down Taylor Road to Wildlife Prairie Park and Route 8. And
there's always interest in connectivity. I just wonder, really what they're trying to do is get it across the river, and then connect to Rock Island, which is downtown Peoria. So I think going east would have been more attractive than going west. But who knows? It's every chance you get to link something up is something that would be of interest to them. So I haven't heard that that's back on or going to happen. I'll find out though.
Brandon, the Bellevue mayor last night seemed to think that he was at rough estimating, but a significant amount of cost to bring the trail up to speed in the Bellevue area and down into the West Peoria area. Is that the worst area that you saw in terms of washout?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, the topography and the degradation, erosion is worse in that area. It's also the most used, so people found ways around it. But yes, that would be the more challenging to develop because it'd be a lot more than just tree clearing. Where in the western portions it's nice and flat and clear the trees. But I would agree with that statement.
Anything else to come before the board this evening? Nothing else? Meeting adjourned.
Great evening.
42 minutes.
Wow.
See you guys. Thanks, everybody.